Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Garibaldi Red podcast, Nottingham Forest podcast, as the Reds come back from behind to secure a huge, emphatic win and a statement win against Aston Villa. Forest win the game 2-1 at the City Ground under a special atmosphere on a Saturday night. It was in front of the TV cameras, many people watching. We shall discuss all of that, and as the Reds sit fourth in the Premier League on the 15th of December. Take that in. It isn't a Christmas wish. You're not dreaming. Forest really do sit fourth. So we will discuss all of that, joined by probably my, in fact, I was about to say two favourites on the podcast, but that's really harsh when it comes on. But it seems like every time we have Dave and Sarah on, Forest win and Forest get a big win, and boy was it big yesterday. Dave, first of all, mate, how are you? How's things? And I can imagine that you've, as I have, been jumping for joy today. Just what a game yesterday.
Yeah, I'm much better, Max. I've had a couple of weeks where I was a bit not great, a bit of a chest infection and all that. But it's just such a lovely feeling that it's basically stretched over 8 days from Old Trafford, which was just a fantastic communal experience for everybody in the away section and supporters watching on the telly and around the world. So it's wonderful for them. That was a fantastic day. And then just when you think it can't get any better, our lovely lads go and produce that yesterday, which was just wonderful. So it's a very special time to be a Nottingham Forest supporter, I think. We've had many, many years where we've not had these kind of experiences. So as Nuno rightly said yesterday, keep feet on the ground. Let's enjoy it for what it is at the moment. It was yesterday, as was last Saturday. 2 very, very special days, mate. And honoured and privileged to have been there for both of them,
Yeah, absolutely. Spot on, agree. We are live on YouTube, Garibaldi Red, and Facebook, Nottingham Forest News on this Sunday evening. So if you fancy getting your thoughts in about what you thought of the game and everything surrounding Forest at the minute, then of course we welcome him. So nice to talk about Forest doing well for once, and especially after Manchester United snatch a win in the end. What an awful game of football we were just on about. But thank the Lords for Man United to keeping Forest fourth at the end of this match day weekend. So all good. Also joined by Sarah. Sarah, how are you? And how's things? And I guess as we were talking about the other week, remember when you were on, you were just saying to me how much, how it's nice to see Forest winning at the minute, and long may it continue. And it has.
Yeah, no, it's great. Unbelievable yesterday, I think. I think I had it down yesterday as a 1-1 in my head, and I think I'm a Super 6. I think most pundits probably had it for that because they couldn't.
They did.
Part us. Went to Manchester for the second time in a week. Got soaking wet, freezing cold, but God, it was worth it, as Dave said.
Yeah.
Although I probably did come back with something not very nice from there because I've spent 3 days in bed this week. But yeah, no, brilliant. I mean, actually thought that the game yesterday, they just seemed to get better and they kind of grew into it, and those subs were just amazing. So yeah, perfect. It was just like a perfect display, wasn't it? And it was so long since we've won a game like that in the final moments. Was it Millwall?
Yeah. I was literally just about to say, actually, Sarah, that when was the last time that Forest... It was all right. When was the last time Forest had scored like that quite late on and then gone and won the game and almost come from behind? Can always remember
Bristol
that game
City.
against... Yeah, probably
Bristol
Dave,
City.
actually, yeah. It's a good one.
And it rained like mad at Bristol City that night, which was like kind of literally a watershed moment because we were in a shed covered in water that night. You know what I mean?
Dave, what did you make of it last night? It was under the lights. It was on telly, on Sky. Lots of people would have been watching all around the country, all around the world, in fact.
Yeah.
And especially this weekend, given that a few of the other bigger teams, shall we say, didn't play until today and are do so in now. So lots of people would have been watching it last night. I just think that this was another statement win for Forest. Would you agree? And we've had lots of them when we talk about Manchester United and Liverpool and beating them. But in terms of this game, it was at home, and Villa arguably are another team that will probably finish in the top 8 this season, if not even maybe top 6. And they're going to be in and around that, possibly amongst Forest, which is crazy to say. But it's another statement win, and it just feels slightly bigger than some of the other games. Would you agree? In terms of the win?
it was a game of a couple of phases, really, Max. I thought the first sort of 60 minutes, it was a case of two teams that looked like they'd been established in the top half for quite a while, which we haven't. Basically, feeling each other out, tactically looking for a weakness in the other. It went backwards and forwards. Very difficult to sort of separate them. And the pundits' sort of predictions and preemptions of the game, I thought it'd be a draw. Sarah thought it'd be a draw. Chris Sutton on the BBC thought it'd be a draw. Everywhere I saw it was a draw because we're fifth playing well, they're sixth playing well. They just got a fantastic win against Leipzig in Europe. And I thought, sort of up to 60 minutes, how far we've come to be on a par with a team like Aston Villa, who've been, champions managed to qualify for the Champions League. And then, if you like, the turning point of the game, in many ways, was one of the greatest saves I think any of us will ever see. Emi Martinez pulled off something truly miraculous. I was lucky enough to be in the Trent end, not far away from it. I saw it. I had a view on it, thinking that Martinez had stopped it on the line, put his hand on it, and then flicked it back. But he didn't. He did it all in one movement, which is an amazing piece of athleticism. And from that moment on, the game became something different. Villa scored a lovely goal to go in front. And then Forest did something, to my way of thinking, that made me so proud of them. They had to deal with the Martinez save, which, Nicolas Dominguez, more than anybody on the planet, would think, how have I not scored? But so that was a kind of what do we have to do to beat this guy kind of moment. Villa then score a really good. John Duran's had a fantastic piece of football.
It was well taken.
Selzy had no chance with that. Then we roll our sleeves up, say, right, Villa, you've gone in front. We're going to come back at you. We are denied an equaliser, a beautiful bit of football by Morgan, Anthony, and Chris. We denied that by the width of a shirt or whatever. Very harsh VAR decision. And then Nottingham Forest, for the millions watching on TV who are tuning in to see, are Nottingham Forest something approaching the real deal, or maybe heading towards becoming a real deal? I think we're given some very, very cogent evidence that Nottingham Forest are, if they're not a good side, they're going in the right direction towards becoming a good side. Because I thought, I walked out of the ground and I was floating, because I thought the attitude, I thought the courage, I thought the unity, I thought the character of those lads wearing red, Garibaldi red last night, was something to behold, and I will remember it to my dying day. I thought, the VAR decision, there was 3 minutes of hanging around, people behind me.
Which was ridiculous, by the way. It was so ridiculous. It took so long.
It spoils the game, right? I saw people behind me. There was one wonderful guy stood behind me. I got talking to later on, and he had his hands, and he was praying during the VAR decision. And when the VAR decision went against us, if you take the guy behind me in the row as a sort of a representative of how the team, Nuno and the coaching staff, and the rest of us as a Forest family were feeling, he looked devastated. But the guys on the field went, hey ho, we've had a kick in the teeth, we go again. And what they did towards the end of that match was truly remarkable. I don't often go into hyperbole about Forest. I want to keep it feet on the ground and take it day by day, as Nuno does. But for me as a supporter, the pride walking out of that ground, Martinez had made this incredible save for the ball from Nico. Nico had a shot, which Martinez had saved at his near post, which kind of acted as a catalyst for Forest to get a head of steam up. Then, Nico's playing the ball to Morgan. Morgan's putting a lovely floaty cross in. Big Nicola's come in. It's 1-1. And then Forest, in a way that, far too infrequently down, if you like, the last 30 years, Forest went, you know what, we can win this. Let's go and grab it. And they went and did it. And I thought, there was some controversy about Elliott's tackle on Kashi in the build-up, as there'd been controversy about the Morgan Rogers incident for the penalty earlier. But okay, Elliott had hold of Morgan, but Morgan had already tried to rip Elliott's shirt off his back. So I think Sam Barrett looked at that and thought, 6 of one, half a dozen the other. You know what I mean? But then, to then go and do what they did. And, you know, Elliot, I thought Elliot Anderson was the man of the match yesterday, as he was at Old Trafford last week. He's another one goes under the radar a little bit because he's not a demonstrative figure. He's not a, hey, look at me kind of guy. He's not an X factor player in the same way that, say, Morgan is or Callum is or something like that. He pulls the ball back. And there's Anthony. And when I saw it go in, I mean, there was this moment of euphoria, lots of human beings leaping about like molecules in the Trenton and everywhere else. It was a wonderful feeling, a party atmosphere, absolutely amazing. But then I looked at Anthony and I thought, it's only 2 or 3 weeks ago since a lot of people were saying, well, if Newcastle offers 50 million for him, we take him, because Anthony was a sort of a target. And that tells you about the unity of this squad. You know, the guy who'd been getting pelters recently, he popped up. He could have, you know, he was unlucky in setting up Woody for the goal that was disallowed. It was a lovely bit of football. He put the ball across and then he was there, Johnny on the spot, to stick it in the back of the net. And I came out at the ground literally buzzing. The love of my club, the love of my team, the love of this particular iteration of this team. These lads are credit to themselves, to their families and to this club. The way they play for each other, the way they play for the coaching staff, the way they're playing for us. Yeah, they're going to be some not so good days like they were at Arsenal City and all that. But generally what they're doing is they're creating a fantastic impression. They're making people sit up and notice in the media and elsewhere. You know, for many years we've been a backwater. We're not now. And it's just this last 8 days. And I've got to, I haven't really had a chance to wax lyrical about the Manchester United game. But I think this last 8 days, you know, we've got to really savour it. And we've got to cherish these memories, because there might be a drop off. But 8 days of brilliant work. It took us 38 games to get to 32 points. We've got 28 after 16. It's one of the most remarkable turnarounds in a football team. It's the most remarkable turnaround in a football team since we were bottom of the championship and then got promoted.
Yeah,
and yesterday was truly wonderful, Max.
Absolutely. No, nice words, Dave. Spot on. Lots of people watching live, Facebook, Nottingham Forest News and YouTube, Garibaldi Red. Christian says, I'm in North Carolina and Forest are making me very, very homesick. I will take it, though. Yeah, absolutely, Christian. And in fact, Dave, you're like this. My dad's just messing me now. I don't know if you can see this, but they're watching on the TV and it says, having to see Dave on a big TV calls for a gin and tonic on a Sunday. There you go. You can see Garibaldi Red with a Christmas tree in the Hayes household back home.
I mean, poor old Sara was worried about how she was looking. She's far better than me. I mean, look at this. I'm like a landfill site, aren't I? You know what I mean?
You all look fine. Sarah, let's go back to the first half, really. And Dave mentioned it, actually. It was a bit of an interesting, wasn't it? I actually thought it was almost a slight game of chess. It was quite back and forth. It was very tight. But then the second half, Forest and Villa arguably came out and did the business, and it was much more entertaining. And as Dave alludes to there, just the resilience of the team and that second half performance showed it. And shows the skill almost that Nuno and some of the players and the backroom staff have to go in at half time and say, look, it's still level. Things, it's quite a tight game, but we can still win this, and almost have a game plan to go out there in the second half. And obviously that's testament to the side, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I watched that first half and it was, I thought this isn't probably a great game of football for a neutral on the telly, is it, on a Saturday night? But he went in at half time and I thought, I think he's going to come. And this is what he does, Nuno, doesn't he? He kind of out tactics them. He comes out and he seems to see what we need to change, where the spaces are, how we need to play. Well, obviously that's what he gets paid for, but he's doing it really well. I think that's what he did. And I kind of half expected it. And although they went ahead, I don't think it was definitely against the run of play. Was that the only shot they had on target all game? I think it was, wasn't it? So, and I didn't look scared of them at all. I didn't see them. And I know they'd play midweek. I know I've listened to some of the phone-ins on 606, and there was an Aston Villa fan saying that they're tired in the last 20 minutes.
I probably put him on air.
Yeah. Oh, did you? Yeah.
I think I did.
He said they're tired.
Gas Mark 7, Max.
I thought, well, that's fair enough because they played midweek. But I don't know about you, but I watched Matty Cash for that last goal. And and he was expecting the ball to land at his feet. He turned away from the ball, and Morato just intercepted it. And I thought, what's he doing? And then, obviously, there was a bit of a flurry, wasn't there? And he loses it again. And I thought that was, although we could argue that was a foul, it was a bit lazy, wasn't it, by Cash? He didn't look like, he wasn't really fighting for that. He just thought, well, I'll just get the foul. And he didn't give it. And I thought, great, so, but no, what a great 20 minutes, last 20 minutes. It was brilliant. I absolutely loved it. I've watched every minute of that game again about 6 times over today. I've watched Match of the Day, God knows how many times, listened to every podcast I probably can. But yeah, no, it's great. And Nuno just seems to be getting better and better. And that was an absolute perfect display, wasn't it? And I don't think there's a better way of winning it. I actually almost enjoyed that more than Man U last week, even though Man U was a great scalp away. Hadn't done it for all the history and everything, but to do it at home. And that's what they said earlier on, wasn't it? We needed a big scalp at home, and that's what we got, I think, yesterday. Because I don't know about you guys, but we've got some friends of Villa fans, and they're always so positive, and they always have lots of good things to say about their team. And I know not all of them, but I think a lot of them probably would have expected to win that yesterday. I don't know, because they seem to be, or apart from being in Europe that week, in the week, they would have expected to win that. But I know we beat them last year, didn't we? 2-0 at the City Ground. So.
Yeah, well, yeah, no, absolutely. Our podcast producer Dan, who's a Villa fan, said that it'd be a draw. So, and I think so many people predicted it would be a draw. As you both
I predicted it a draw as well on 5 Live yesterday morning.
I didn't put you through then, Sarah. All right,
it was too early.
Yeah, it was. I was asleep. Right. I mean, Dave, in fact, just actually staying on that and the last 20 minutes in particular, I was going to touch on it later on in the podcast, but now we've kind of got onto it. Is it just another almost sign of the togetherness, of the passion, of the fight, almost resilience from the team, and shows how far we've come? And, of course, we talk about Steve Cooper and we thank him for everything he did. But Nuno has been an upgrade. I don't think anyone can argue on that. Nuno has been an upgrade. The side's been upgraded in the summer with spot-on recruitment. You look at the likes of Milenkovic, Anderson, that we'll get onto shortly. But it is an upgrade. And there just seems to be that, maybe not fight, but almost resilience that when Forest now go a goal down, you feel like they're going to get back into the game. And as Sarah said, you're not scared of other teams now. And almost, Dave, I can remember you said it so many times on the podcast last season and even before when when we've done other bits and pieces, when Forest have been in these relegation fights and you've said, we show teams way too much respect. This season it feels different and it seems like we almost put our own stamp on the game. Would you agree?
Yes, I would. I think the last 2 seasons, I mean, I think what it is, people could say Nuno's an upgrade on Steve and all this business, but without Steve, us three wouldn't be sitting here talking now. Steve, I've seen certain people give Steve some flack and all that kind of stuff, but Steve did. I'm just going to touch on Steve a little minute. Steve did what Vincent Kompany couldn't do, which Russell Martin appears unable to do, which Ruud van Nistelrooy still has to prove he can do. He kept us up. So if you ask Nuno, Nuno will be forever grateful for the platform that Steve gave him to build on. And it's just a natural evolution. So what Steve did was fantastic. But I think Steve gave so much, he was empty at the end. And I think it was the right thing to do to change it. I think what's happened with this team is I used to feel, I think so much like, I don't think they really had an idea of just how capable they were. And I think what's happened is, I think the last 2 seasons, it's been a case of, we just need to stay a Premier League team. And they've done that, which is to their great credit. I mean, last season wasn't pretty, but hey ho, we're in a different part of the universe now to Sheffield United, Luton Town and Burnley, right? They'd love to be where we are. And without that bit of suffering that we've gone through these last 2 seasons, I think those 2 seasons of suffering have taught Forest a lot. I think the greatest quality that they taught this team, this squad, is humility. I don't see anybody, sticking their head above the parapet and speaking out of turn. I'm not saying they're all, I'm sure there'll be disagreements. A group of young elite athletes like that, there's going to be days where they don't all get on, they don't all agree. But I think by and large, I just see a family. And I see a family that, on and off the pitch, the dressing room, the pitch, in the squad. I see the coaching staff then being brought into the family. And then bless them, with what they're doing, they're bringing all of us into it. And so they're bringing us all together, acting as a unifying force. And a city ground that acts as a unified city ground. There are very few more difficult places to go and play football as a visiting team. I'm going to say anywhere in the world. It's a hostile atmosphere when it gets going. And that last 20 minutes was an encapsulation of that. And Villa, they've got a brilliant coach. They've done incredible things, Villa. I watched them against Leipzig in the week. They were absolutely sublime. It was a superb performance. Maybe they tied, but Villa still played some good football yesterday. But I think with Forest, it's just this realization that, hey ho, we can be more than the sum of our parts. The first indication I got of it, Max, was the night at the Fan Trust, listening to Yatesy. I was very, very lucky, and thanks to Steve Bennett for that, it allowed me to go to that, and listening to Ryan Yates talk. And it was just before Anfield, and a little lad said to Yatesy, little lad was brilliant, "Ryan, can we win at Anfield, mate?" And Yatesy went, "Well, mate, it's going to be difficult because, it's Liverpool, it's there, it's the history, it's the cop and all that business." He said, "But what I will tell you, we in the dressing room, after 2 years of battling away to get to this point, we feel we've got it within our capability to go and vex some of these teams and maybe get something. That's how we feel now." 2 days later, the team, the squad, were as good as Yates' word. And I think what we're finding now is Forest are it's almost like they paid their dues by struggling for 2 seasons. Right, we've had enough of that. Let's go and put our stamp on it. They did it. I mean, if you like, they did it at Old Trafford last year where they were 2 up in 4 minutes, but weren't good enough to see it through. And the evolution was like they were up in 2 minutes at Old Trafford last week and then pegged back. And then, hey ho, we went again. And what Forest are finding now is I think they're fitter than they've been for a while. So they're kind of getting to the point where they're outrunning teams. If Villa were tired from Leipzig and what they did last week against Southampton, then Forest fitness put them on the back foot because Forest were coming on and on and on.
Yeah.
It looked at the end of that game, Max, what I would say, and this is a great credit to Nuno, his team, his coaching staff, and the lads themselves with what they're doing in training, is that Forest looked like they could have played for another 90 minutes. Villa were beginning to flag. As Sara says, the lead up to the winner that Anthony scored, there was a bit of tie play by both teams. Like Forest tried to play a ball and it went nowhere. Callum tried to play a ball round the fullback. It got intercepted, and then Villa kind of gave it away. The key moment in it was when one of my favourite 2 bailiffs in Nottingham, Morato, with his other mate Milenkovic, Morato steeled in as a bailiff, said, "No, I'll take that." He gave the ball. I think Callum played, and they put Elliott in. Wins his duel with Matty Cash. And you know what? That was good refereeing because that's like the referee Sam Barrett looked at him. That's two lads battling for the ball hard. Let's see who wins it. Elliott won it. He got in the box. He pulled it back. And I just think it's this family feeling about the way they play. And you watch the match day pass videos. You see the training. They're all laughing and joking. I mean,
they did some great work this weekend as well with the food bank at the fan zone.
They did, and with the kids, the wonderful kids in the Warriors United, they're showing. I think Forest is showing morality this year, which at times in the past has escaped us. And I think sometimes if you get the morality right, life gives you your rewards. And everywhere I look at the moment with Nottingham Forest, I just see good things being done, be it with the supporters groups, with home for Christmas and the food bank and all this kind of stuff, but most importantly the football. You know what I mean? And yesterday was it just made me think they are world. You've been questioning Nottingham Forest. If you want some evidence that Nottingham Forest are, I'm not saying a good team yet because there's still a long way this season to go, and but what I would say for certain is Nottingham Forest are a better team than they've been the last 2 seasons.
Of course. Spot on, mate, and especially about kind of almost the rewards. I think massively, and I think in football, I just sometimes think that you do kind of make your own luck at times, maybe, and
Yeah,
especially with that, and especially with yesterday, I think there was obviously some not controversial decisions because it didn't really. I don't think each of them massively impacted the game as such,
yeah,
especially the little fouls. Obviously, Wood's offside goal does
yeah.
influence the game, but it seems like it evens itself out.
Do you know what, Max? I'm going to be really pretentious. It's a Kipling poem. If you can meet triumph and disaster and treat the two impostors the same, then my son, you'll be a man. And what Forest did, they went, okay, we had a goal disallowed. Okay, Martinez has made this astonishing save. Forest could have said, well, it's not our day. But they didn't. And they said, okay, we've had these setbacks. We go again. And Forest proved that they've got character, they've got strength, they've got this physical fitness, I think, and they've got this mental strength, which could see them through to something quite remarkable. How remarkable, we don't know.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Sarah, what did you make of the Wood VAR call? I mean, it is tight. They take so long to decide on it. I think this semi-automated offside technology can't come soon enough that they're talking about, because maybe that would, I don't know, rule it onside. I just don't know. I think, you see the line and it's Anthony Elanga and just the shoulder and the way it is just so tight. What did you think? Should it have stood or?
Well, I'm going to say I think it should have stood, yeah, but it took 3.5 minutes. It's absolute nonsense. And he's not going to score a goal from there with his shoulder. Did we get an advantage? I don't think so. They're going to have to, I personally think they should look at the rule, because I think, how do they actually know the moment, the actual precise millisecond that ball left? Was it Gibbs White's foot? When do they actually? They don't. They haven't got that technology. They've said it all along. So how do they know that it was at that precise moment that he was offside? They don't. And if they're having to look at it for 3.5 minutes, there should be an amount, and then they should say, actually, we can't tell. Give it. That's what I think, because this is just this isn't sport. This isn't excitement. I mean, we could have scored 4 goals yesterday, couldn't we? Apart from an absolute worldy save and the offside, and they could have had a penalty, so it could have been easily a 4-2 game or a 3-2 game, and that's more enjoyable for everybody, the spectators. That's what football is, isn't it? It's an enjoyment. It's like people want to see the rush of a goal and not sit there for 3.5 minutes and wait for them to decide that his sleeve on his shirt maybe was offside, or his armpit. I mean, it's just stupid. I mean, I can't really understand what advantage he had. So no, and I felt for Elanga, because he's like Dave said earlier, he's had loads of bad press. And to me, I think you asked me after the Ipswich game what I thought about him. I wasn't going to slate him, because he's a young player, and I'm sure he's beating himself up about it, or he said that anyway, didn't he, on Saturday night? And Nuno's managed him. He took him out of that position. I mean, I know he has been playing, but he's kind of reduced his minutes somewhat, and he's obviously working on more tactics and where he can get his goals from. But he was just brilliant when he came on, wasn't he? I mean, he was back to his best last season. So whatever Nuno's doing is brilliant. Anthony Elanga came on, was great. But yeah, no, I think. They're all saying it. All the pundits are saying it. I think Gary Lineker said it yesterday. That needs changing, just very casually, because I presume he can't say too much. But nobody wants it. Who made that decision? Who made that rule book? Change it. It's ridiculous. The offside rule's gone mad.
Yeah, the worst thing, Sarah, and everything you say, Duck, is absolutely spot on. I could not agree more with you. You just spoke beautifully about that. It's the standing around in the ground, and we're all looking around, and we're looking at each other and what goes on. A game of football, there are other sports which are set-piece games. Cricket is a set-piece game, rugby union, rugby league, NFL. All these games are set piece games. Tennis is a set piece game. Football, if you like, is kind of 145 minutes of fluid movement, this hither and thither, this way and that, and the same again. And the last thing you want in football is a sort of a hiatus like that. And it's a short changing of people in the stadiums, because people at home can see, and often the commentators on the telly get to hear what's being said at Stockley Park. Everybody in the City Ground yesterday for 3 or 4 minutes was starting looking around. This lovely fella stood behind me, and he was like praying. Like, I watched him. He didn't know I was watching him, and I watched him. And I thought, mate, your body language is saying it for all of us. It's this business of they shouldn't keep us waiting, and they should let the game go on. But
it's got worse, hasn't it? That waiting's come. It's worse, isn't it?
I think, and
what's changed? Because it's worse, because we're having it almost every other game now, where we wait. I mean, we had one the other week, didn't we? Which was like ages. We were stood there waiting, waiting. But I don't remember it being so often before. They seem to sort it a bit quicker, or they never go over to the.
I think if you watch the World Cup and the Euros.
Oh, that was a lot better.
Far better than what's happening in this country at the moment.
Yeah.
I think
that's because no English refs are involved. That was why.
Yeah. I think
are they bringing it back further now in the game? So they're bringing it further back from, I don't know, like looking at each pass further back. I don't know. It just seems.
I think one of the biggest things is that you're right. I think it's the time it takes, and I also feel that they take so long because they don't want to. They try not to get the decision wrong, and they're all sat at Stockley Park wondering, well, we've got to take a while, and you're right, Sarah, because you very rarely see them send the referee to the monitor for a decision like that if it's that close, because really, if you let the referee
the goal and they didn't put the flag up, they should give it.
Yeah,
the benefit of the doubt for the attacker was said on Match Today. I think it was either Theo Walcott or Ashley Williams said it, and I thought, yeah, lads, bang on.
Yeah,
we want to see goals. I think the worst thing, I watched Vardy scored very early against West Ham a couple of Mondays back, and he's standing around, his hands on his hips, and like, have I scored, have I not? And then after this waiting, then he gets to celebrate, and it's almost like it's faked because it's not spontaneous. It's like a piece of pleasure in life that's thwarted. And these lads are now, what they're doing. I watched Woody several times, especially at the Trent thing, because he gets quite close to where I'm sat. And the action of playing a ball or scoring a goal or whatever gets mucked about because Woody's looking at what the linesman's doing. Do you know what I mean? It's just ridiculous.
Mm. Moving on from VAR, and I think that the only way they could make it, I think it's the communication that is the big part, and they've tried putting these messages up on the big screen and showing it and things, but I just feel like the referee should be.
They haven't got the technology.
Yeah,
so they don't actually have the technology. They haven't got enough cameras to say when that ball left that guy's toe, and Anthony Elanga was, the player was offside. They said that months ago, didn't they, or years ago? They haven't got that technology left. They have now. I don't know. But it's like, so how can they be sure that he was a millimetre? They can't. So just give the goal.
It's a waiting game.
It makes no difference anyway, because we won the game. But even so, it would have been, just more. It's just everyone wants to see that goal. Every team wants to see goals.
Yeah. Absolutely. And thankfully we won the game. So thank God we're not talking about it. We're not talking about losing the game.
We wouldn't have done that last year. That's the difference.
Yeah. Well, there'd have been another statement put out or something like a letter.
Nottingham Forest are considering their options.
Yeah.
Which what options? You got no options. Deal with it. You know what I mean?
All right. Let's talk about some key players, and we obviously touched them a little short while ago. But Anthony Elanga, just great to see him on the score sheet. Obviously, he'd have had that assist if the goal would have stood. I thought great performance. Sums up Nuno's subs. I thought in-game management was brilliant. I thought nice to see him on the pitch doing what Anthony should do. and will do his confidence the world of good, Dave. And we've talked about it a lot with players having to prove things at the club. And maybe Anthony has the last couple of weeks because he hasn't been great. But as Sarah said, the coaching staff have almost kind of worked with him and almost eased him back in a little bit. And Nuno knows what he's doing with players that are going through bad times. He's been in the game long enough. He's played the game and he's worked in it for a long time. He knows, but nice to see him on the score sheet. It will do his confidence the world of good. And you never know, he could pick up some form and really almost not turn his season around. I don't mean that in a really critical way, but just turn his kind of, little bit of a dip around.
Yeah, I just think when I watched, did anybody listen to Anthony's interview after the match?
Yeah.
Anthony is a highly educated, intellectual, very intelligent young man. I think he speaks about 6 or 7 languages, and I thought he spoke beautifully. And because I think Anthony, because he's such an intelligent guy, and I just get the impression with Anthony, he looks from a distance, it's just me surmising, seems like quite a deep thinker. So my guess is that when Anthony thinks he's had a bad game, he's probably gone away and stewed about it. And I think maybe, I think where the difference comes between Steve and Nuno, Steve, I think, was always a brother figure, probably because of his age and all that. Nuno is a bit more of a father figure. So I think, and Nuno, I think, has got this perception of like when a player needs it. And I'm sure Nuno will have had Anthony in the office and said, look, mate, they're going to be good days and going to be bad days. Let's try and get some good days, more good days than bad days. And then let's sit and talk about it. I'm sure the very intelligent conversation between the two of them. And Anthony struck me yesterday, when I looked at him, I was so pleased that he kind of made such an impact on the game. He's clearly popular in the squad, but then I think they all seem popular with each other. And there's that good, nice social feel in the squad. But I looked at Anthony Lang and I thought, there's human beings in a nutshell. You have good days and you have bad days. Where I get irritated is that, certain fans go, he made a mistake there, so that defines his whole career and his whole playing style. Well, then, if Anthony scored yesterday, does that define it instead? And everybody's short term. It's almost, I sometimes feel if a player does 20 things and 19 of them are foot perfect, but one isn't, the vast majority of football fans will hone in on the one that went wrong and hammer them for it, right? I'm Brian Clough, the greatest of them all. The greatest of them all. They used to say about John Robertson can't do this, John Robertson can't do that. And Clough used to say, why should I get John Robertson to do things he can't do? I just want him to do things he can do. And that's where the greatest created our greatest ever player. Do you know what I mean? And I think Nuno is getting. I thought Nuno, what Nuno did yesterday. I talked to a couple of people afterwards. I talked to somebody I respect a lot, and he was saying it was a masterclass of coaching. There were a lot of like, why has he left Jota Silva out and put Dominguez in? Who's going to play on the right hand side and all this kind of stuff? He kind of thought, well, he's kind of unbalanced the team, but it worked perfectly. I thought Dominguez had a really good game. He goes under the radar. I love that guy. He was the guy having the header to force the great save. And I think, let's say the first 60 minutes, it was so even. I kind of thought how far we've come to be even with these who are a Champions League team. That is progress right there. But then to go to that next level was fantastic. And I think Nuno facilitated that with the way he picked the team and he set them up. I mean, my first thought in the stand when I saw the team was, Elliot's going to go out and play on the right. But then Elliot seemed to be popping up wherever he felt like it. Dominguez the same. Ola is nominally right back. It was almost like Ola had a roving commission to go wherever he feels. And is there a better two-footed footballer in the league at the moment? Ola can go both ways. What he can do, I mean, it's astonishing that it's taken him this long to be an established, really good Premier League, which is now. So I think the way Nuno set them up, and I think the mood that he creates is just masterclass stuff. And he was up against one of the great coaches yesterday. I mean, what he's done, he's gone to Liverpool, he's outthought Slot, and Liverpool are running away in the league and running away in Europe. No, Nuno outthought him. He then went and did it. He handed Amorim his backside on a silver platter last week, but that didn't take much doing because United are a poor team. Yesterday, he was up against Emery, who, if he left Villa, would be one of the most sought-after coaches in the world. And Nuno kind of dealt with him. He contained him for an hour, and then he put him in his place. And okay, Villa maybe rightly were angry about the penalty that they didn't get, so they'll be saying, we're saying let's bin VAR because that goal should have been allowed to stand. Villa will be saying, let's bin VAR because Morgan Rogers was pulled by Elliot Anderson. But I think Nuno is creating an environment that allows all of these guys. I think what he's got a lovely blend. They can all do different things, different personalities, and it's like a jigsaw that fits together at the moment. And it's just such a, we've suffered for so long and years in the Championship, League One, fallow years where we had nothing to talk about. All the little ones who've been going to Forest recently have had nothing to talk about. Fourth, we're now in a Champions League spot. It may not stay that way, but we're above the supposed biggest club in the world, Manchester City. If somebody said to me on August the 14th when we started against Bournemouth, this is where you'll be on December the 15th, I said, are you on magic mushrooms? And here we are, and it's to their great credit. The job now, and Nuno will say this, the job now is to make it count and go on and do more.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Magic mushrooms, that made me laugh.
Button mushrooms, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. Just to put it into context as well about Anthony Elanga, he's had 17 goals and assists since the start of the last Premier League season, right? That's the most by any under-22 player not named Cole Palmer. So second in that stat. So, from all the criticism, the stats don't lie, and the stats put him high up in terms of that goals and assists table since the start of last season. Good to see him back on the score sheet. Another player, Sara, that we seem to talk about every week on this podcast, but we can't go without not mentioning him. Elliot Anderson, just fantastic again. I thought if there was ever a game actually yesterday for a very long time, and Forest have had great wins this season, there's been great performances. In fact, the last time this happened was when Morgan Gibbs-White, I thought, had an amazing game against Fulham to make it, and it was obviously 3-0 in April last season. I thought Elliot Anderson ran the show yesterday. I thought that was a game where he fitted in perfectly and he did everything right, and that was almost his game, and he walks away from that with a lot of the plaudits, albeit he didn't score. He created the most chances, which was 4. He completed the most dribbles, 3. He made the most tackles, 5. And he won the most duels, the most across the game, and obviously assisted the first goal as well. That just sums him up, doesn't it, Sarah? And people laughed at us for buying him in the summer. Forest have massively proved them wrong, haven't they? And he's got so much potential, hasn't he? And he's going to keep getting better and better.
Well, he's getting them stats nearly every game, isn't he? He plays.
Yeah.
So
I feel like I read him out every week. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's one of those players that he's doing a great job, but you read them at the end and go, oh wow, I didn't realise that, but he had a battle on yesterday with Rodgers, didn't he? And he frustrated the hell out of him, and I thought it was great because he's just a no-nonsense midfielder, isn't he? He's like, you think you're going to get past me? No chance. You think you're going to get that ball? No. And it was, he didn't win them all, but what a great signing. I don't think we've paid 35 million for him, but I'm not going to go into the accounts. But I know a lot of the Newcastle fans didn't think we were mad for signing him.
Yeah.
Whether people outside of Newcastle did. I know my boss, who's a Newcastle fan, was like, oh my God, you've got one of our talents there. We've had to sell him because of financial. Well, it's not financial fair play anymore.
PSR.
So
Premier League sustainability rules. Yeah.
yeah. So Premier League. So he's great. He's brilliant, and he's just getting better. And he doesn't say a lot. He goes about his business, doesn't it? He's not one of the ones. I mean, when he did that assist, he just turned away, put his hands in the air, and he was just like, yeah. And Anthony, he's just a no-nonsense kind of guy. He's brilliant, isn't he? But every game we're getting it. I mean, he could be, if he stays if we manage to keep hold of him, he could be one of our, brilliant signings of this era.
I think that Nottingham Forest have made the 2 best signings any team has made this last window.
You're going to take it.
Nikola Milenkovic.
Yeah, well, everyone's going to say that, aren't they?
And Elliot Anderson is the other. And I love Elliot Anderson. I call Elliot Anderson Stoneface because he gives nothing away in his expression. Like Sarah said, she's bang on. When the goal went in, and it was on the telly, I saw it late when I got home and I watched it again. What he does, he doesn't take Anthony's glory from him. He lets Anthony be the man. Anthony, he kind of turns away and he does that. And his expression doesn't change. He doesn't give much away. I remember my favourite bit. Elliot Anderson. The thing about Elliot Anderson is he does the mucky stuff in midfield, the kind of the Dominguez Yates type of stuff, but he can also do the Gibbs White type of stuff. This kid is so versatile. My favourite bit of Elliot Anderson was when Callum gave him his birthday present on the training ground. And Callum, being Callum, because Callum and Ola are like a couple of battling tops, aren't they? Like so excitable. And Callum's running across the field and he's going, Elliot, I've got your birthday thing. And Elliot went, how are you, man? That's quite canny, that. And he was just completely deadpan about it.
Good impression,
and
Dave.
I just thought, yeah. And I just thought, Elliot Anderson, if I was playing against Elliot Anderson, like yesterday, Morgan Rogers and Elliot Anderson became a duel. And when Morgan Rogers is a hell of a good young player, he's going to be a brilliant player if he isn't already. And I have a lot of time for watching Morgan Rogers. But if Morgan Rogers thought he was going to put off Elliot and wind Elliot up, Elliot's face said, total poker face. Nah, mate, not having it. And I thought it was wonderful. I love this kid. He's brilliant.
Great.
Yeah, absolutely. £28 million. That's how much Milenkovic and Anderson cost if you discount, if you take all the PSR into it and stuff with Newcastle and do the accounts, which we ain't going to do because we're not a financial podcast. Thank God. Let's just talk about another player. Actually, in fact, it's just cracked me up because while I'm doing this podcast, my boss from work has just messaged me and put above City in the table ! Is this Football Manager ? WTF?
Yeah,
It's kind of right, isn't it? Yeah,
I'm kind of having moments like that. I'm watching like podcasts and like this guy's like going, Forest. This was obviously when we were fifth. Forest is sitting fifth. We've just beat Man United, and I'm like going, what football dimension am I watching? Because like 4 years ago, we were like bottom of the Championship table. We were dreaming. My husband was going, I'm never going to see Forest in the Premier League again. And now I'm going to him, what if this is our best season? What if this is it for years? What if we've got to drink it in and just enjoy it, haven't we?
Yeah.
Because who knows how good does it get? I don't know. Can it get better than this?
Yeah, I think so. I think it can. The only way is up. Yeah, right. Let's touch on, and I think a player that we have talked a little bit about, and we're not going to go through all because there were so many standout performances. But
Callum Hudson-Odoi, he never stopped, did he?
Yeah, I was literally just about to come on to him, Sarah.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's all right. Don't worry. No, it's all right. You're all good. What did you make of Callum? I just thought again, you saw his almost involvement with that last goal. It's just. Him and Anthony Elanga when they're on it are just two brilliant players, and again you forget how almost little that they've cost Forest as well. Sarah,
is that me? Sarah?
No,
yeah, go on, Sarah.
I'm sick of you, Dave. Go on, Sarah.
Yeah, I'm sick of me and all.
Yeah.
Well, I watch him I watch him every game, and I just think, he's just everywhere, isn't he? I mean, he's brilliant, and I know he tries to cut in, and but. His assist to Morgan last week, and he nearly got another one for Ryan Yates, didn't he? Unfortunately, Ryan Yates couldn't have his shooting boots on this time, but it was almost the same move, wasn't it? Apart from they didn't have to retrieve it from the opposition. It was. He's brilliant. He just moves the ball so well between his feet, doesn't he? He's like back, left, right, and they can't deal with him at all because he's so fast. He's just quality, and I think that's the thing with him, isn't he? He is a quality player, and you can't believe what we paid for him. That is just daft, absolutely daft. And again, we've managed to keep him fit, and he's not had any, to touch wood, major injuries. So what were we? Something like second bottom of the injury list in the Premier League that came out.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
of days lost to injury. I mean, obviously, and we've lost Danilo since day one, and Sangari for ages. So I think I know he was a bit injured last year, wasn't he? But he seems to have managed really well, and I don't know whether that's like the new coaching staff that's implemented and everything, because. No, absolutely brilliant. I'm sure Dave can add a bit more onto that for me.
I think Callum Hudson-Odoi is a wonderful story. I think Callum Hudson-Odoi he's kind of symbolic of a lot of them in this squad. Nuno himself, they're on recovery missions. They've had low points in careers. Callum Hudson-Odoi at Chelsea, and he's playing for England. He was kind of like the coming force, the new kid on the block. I think at one point Bayern Munich offered 70 million for him, and then poor lad had an horrendous injury, and it never then quite got good for him again. Never quite got back to that level for one reason or another. And I think what I love about Callum Hudson-Odoi is he will have sat down, he will have had advisors, family, whatever, and they say, look, Nottingham Forest are offering 3 million for you. It's not a lot. And Callum Hudson-Odoi, to his great credit, went, that's a chance for me to get my career back on track. That's a chance for redemption for me. And he came, and he maybe if he'd have come from Chelsea earlier in his career, he might have been a bit sort of, this, that, and the other. No, he never arrived. He never arrived like that. He came.
And I think Steve Cooper was a big pull for him, wasn't he? I think
he was.
He said that.
Because I think it goes back to the under-17s World Cup win, which Steve.
Yeah.
Again, people are hammering Steve. Steve's won a World Cup, a lot other. But I think with Callum, I remember seeing Callum. He signed, and then the very next night, Forest had an EFL trophy game at Harrogate, where it's mainly the kids playing. And the only two senior pros that night that got off the bus at Harrogate, so I went to it. And if you go into Harrogate Town, have the food. The food in Harrogate Town Stadium is fantastic, right? The pie and chips there, absolutely superb.
Never been, Dave.
No, honestly, it's a beautiful little football ground. Anyway, the Forest coach pulled up. All the kids got off. Your Josh Powells and your Gardners and your Nadines and all that. They all got off. And the last two off the bus, Felipe got off the bus. And basically, every women within about 50-mile radius all swooned because he's the most beautiful human being there's ever been, right? And then the last one off the bus was Callum Hudson-Odoi. And I remember he got off the bus and we just sort of stood there taking photos. And I just said to him, nice to have you here, mate. Hope it goes well for you. We're right behind you. And he went, and he said? He said, thank you very much. I'll do my best for you. And I watch him now. And he's getting back to that point where, if Callum can keep his consistency, and Thomas Tuchel's knocking at wingers for England, Callum could come into the reckoning. There was talk at the end of last season that people were like putting bids in for Callum. I think what he's done is fantastic. Yeah, he has the odd game where he's not quite, you don't quite see him, but wingers are going to be like that. And I think that goes for all four of us. I think he goes for Anthony. I think he goes for Cal. I think he goes for Jota. I think he goes for Ramon Sousa. These are four really, really good wide guys we've got. But I love Callum Hudson-Odoi. Every time he gets on the ball, it was like the days when Brennan was here. Every time Brennan got the ball, you kind of, oh, right, something's going to happen. And I feel like that with Callum. And hopefully I can feel that, that I do with Callum, with Anthony on a more regular basis. But I think Callum Hudson-Odoi is just, I think he's like I say, he's emblematic of the humility and the hard work. And I've got something to prove for so many in this squad, starting with the manager, because people were saying he was rubbish at Tottenham. You know what I mean? And Nuno,
I don't get what they say about Nuno, about the manager. I don't get it at all because he only had about 8 games.
Well, I think every manager struggles at Tottenham.
Yeah.
Tottenham are unmanageable. If I was Ange, I'm going to be controversial. If I was Ange Postecoglou, I said
they are winning 3-0 at the minute, by the way.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
Has Russell Martin changed his way of playing to try and keep Southampton up? Steve Cooper changed after Leicester 4 Forest.
He did.
Yeah, he did. But anyway, there's so many more players we could mention, but time running out. It's getting late on a Sunday, and I don't want to keep you two both long. I've wanted to touch on it, and I'm asking everybody as we do podcasts around the Christmas period, where can Forest finish this season? And it is early, and I know. We say, Dave, you've said it to me many a times. Don't get ahead of yourselves. I remember you kind of having a little giggle to yourself when I predicted Forest to finish 12th at the start of the season. Where can Forest finish this season, Dave? Honestly, we're sat now Sunday the 15th of December. We're talking about Forest being 4th. I won't say there's easy games coming up because there's never easy games, but there's winnable games coming up for Forest. We could be even an even better position come the end of, come the start of 2025. Yeah. Where are Forest finishing at the end of the season?
Well, taking the short term, Max, I'm going to stick my neck out here and I might get clipped for this. But, everybody's been talking about, apparently Brentford are invincible at home and nobody on earth in the universe can beat Brentford at the G-Tech. I think we'll beat Brentford next week because it's become a thing. I thought yesterday, draw against Villa, because Villa are a good side with lots of this. But as soon as they start talking up this Brentford thing, I'm thinking, Forest are going to beat them there. And I really fancy us to win there. Where Forest can finish, I'm
Give us a position, come on.
Oh, God, mate, I keep changing. At the start of the season, based on last season, give me 17th. Then if we keep this up, if this can be maintained, I think a top half finish is well within Forest compass. And I can't believe I'm saying it.
7th, 8th.
I mean, to me, a successful season, bottom line now, in this context, would be 11th or 12th, because it's way better than what we've done the last 2 seasons. I mean, I think Forest at the moment are pretty much guaranteed. I just wanted March, April, May not to be looking over my shoulder like we did last year, thinking, well, what's Sheffield United, Luton and Burnley doing? Because that was just awful. I just want to go to games and relax and know that it's safe. That's what I wanted. But if they keep producing the kind of work that they're producing, like they did last week, and like they did at Anfield, like they did at Chelsea, where they should have beaten them, and what they did last night, I think last night was the biggest indicator to me that they're capable of doing something quite remarkable. So I might get clipped for it. I think they're capable of it. I mean, they're saying the European places could go down to 8th. Who knows?
Say it.
I mean,
yeah, come on.
10th.
Say it.
Oh, 10th.
First champions note.
Sarah, Sarah, please tell me you're. Yeah, come on. 6th, maybe, Sarah? 7th? Oh, she's taking the time.
Oh, yeah, I think we're quite capable of doing that. I mean, last time we had this many points, was it 30 years ago or something? We had third, so after 16 games. So, look, it's a tough league. You know, you've got to win lots and lots of games to end up third. A lot. You know, grueling week after week after week. You know, winning.
Yeah.
I don't think we're there because of what the teams are in there, and I think, you know, we're all waiting for Man City to come good, like everybody's waiting for Forest to drop off. But, you know, once we get safe, which we're nearly there already, aren't we, really? Who knows where we'll end up, because we've not been in that position before, so we can play with a bit of freedom. So we could end up 6th, but I'd still probably be happy with. I'd probably expect at least top 10.
Yeah,
absolutely. Do you know what, Sarah? That's a brilliant point you just made up about they get to that point where they're safe. I was talking to my brother about it today. My brother said to me, 4 wins and you're safe. That's our Robert for you, know what I mean? And I thought, yeah, he's got a good point, actually. But you know what? If it gets to that point where Forest are safe, Forest might think, tell you what, let's have a crack, let's wing it. And they might play more flamboyantly. Yeah. And then you just don't know, you know what I mean? So what they have done, they've been a credit to themselves and to the club, and they put themselves in a great position. Who knows?
Yeah.
We seem to be getting stronger anyway, not weaker, don't we, at the moment?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Forest will finish 7th. Said it last week. We'll say it again.
And we've played all the top teams away now.
Yeah.
Very good point, Sarah. I'm just really hoping that Forest don't get Champions League, because there's a clip somewhere of me on the podcast saying that I present the podcast in my boxer shorts or something like Carolina Caress, so that really isn't happening. There'll be some other point.
Your head, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, true. Yeah, perfect. I could be in him right now. You never know. Maybe not. Right. That finishes us very nicely. Just under an hour of talking about that win. We can do these podcasts for. We could maybe do like a 24-hour live stream for charity. That would be better. We could, Dave. We could just do it, me and you, mate. We could just talk for 24 hours straight. People would love that.
The thing is, Max, we talk for an hour.
Yeah.
But isn't it nice to talk for an hour about Nottingham Forest? You know, gaining lots of admiration, playing great football, pulling off great wins. We've had however many years of like having to kind of sift through the wreckage, and now we're into this, and it's just such a joy and a pleasure to talk about Forest playing well and giving us something. You know, that buzz. I every time I go to the game, I think of the young folks, the kids who are going, who've never had anything really to be excited about, and they're loving it. The little ones are at the moment. I think it's fantastic, mate. Wonderful.
Absolutely. Long may it continue. Dave, Sarah, Thank you. Enjoy the
Thanks
rest of
a lot.
your Sunday evening. I'm going to have to start putting a waiting list on people to come on these pods. It seems like everyone wants to talk about Forest when they're doing well. So thank you both. Really appreciate it. Look forward to talking about many more wins and hopefully over the Christmas period as well. Thanks for tuning in live to those that have done so. Facebook and YouTube, keep up to date with us there. We'll have some more stuff over the next few weeks. There's some good stuff as well coming. So stay tuned for that. Ready for Christmas. And as Forest get another 3 points to place under the Christmas tree, they sit fourth in the Premier League, just 1 point off third and 3 points off second. Hope you've got your passport ready. Come on, you Reds.